The matter of former public protector advocate Buswe Mkhwebane versus the Office of the Public Protector and others has stood down until Thursday. This to allow the parties to find each other in relation to the matter they wish the court to adjudicate upon. Mkhwebane turned to the Gauteng High Court in Pretoria in an urgent bid over the non-payment of a 10 million rand gratuity. She was impeached in a Section 194 inquiry last year, just a month before she was due to complete her tenure in the Chapter 9 institution. The parties appeared before Judge Colleen Collis.
We are standing the matter down until Thursday, that's the 18th of April, 2024, 10 o'clock. That's for hearing. The parties recording that they had undertaken to address a letter to the court by tomorrow midday, and that's to delineate the issues that the court will be called upon to determine on Thursday. Thank you. The cost is reserved until then.
In Gauteng, the Education Department in the province says it is saddened by the death of two learners that drowned in the Hanops River near Centurion, north of Pretoria, during a school excursion yesterday. Department spokesperson Steve Mabona says the two learners, aged 13 and 16 years old, were attending a discipline camp held by a non-governmental organization, Rising Star Generation, in Pretoria from Friday. They were scheduled to return on Monday. It is alleged that one of the learners ran towards a nearby river close to the campsite entrance. A second learner then followed in an attempt to rescue the fellow learner, but they both drowned. Mabona says police managed to recover their bodies.
Our psycho support team will be dispatched tomorrow. They will be at the school to provide necessary counseling. MEC did indicate that we are deeply saddened by these unfortunate deaths which occurred during a school excursion. On behalf of the department, we wish to extend our condolences to both families and the school community.
Moving to KwaZulu-Natal, police have launched a manhunt for an unknown number of suspects after the killing of 3 people in Inanda in the north of Durban. It is alleged that the suspects shot and killed a man and a woman. They then proceeded to a nearby house where they shot and killed a man believed to be in his 50s. Police spokesperson Robert Nechiunda.
Information at police disposal at this stage suggests that unknown number of suspects shot the man and the woman and proceeded to a nearby house where they demanded keys for a minibus taxi from female occupants of the house. The females escaped unharmed and the suspects took the spare key for the minibus taxi. The same suspects are believed to have continued to the cottages down the road where they shot the third victim and took original keys before driving off with the minibus taxi. The minibus taxi was found abandoned in the Ntuzuma area. Earlier on Monday evening, a man was shot and killed a few meters from where the man and the woman were killed. It is not yet clear if the incident is linked to the triple murder.
Lastly, the Israeli government says it has launched a diplomatic offensive against Iran as it considers a military response to the missile and drone attack against it at the weekend. The Foreign Minister Israel Katz has written to dozens of countries calling for sanctions to be imposed on Iran's missile program. Israel's allies have repeatedly urged it to show restraint. The BBC's Yolandi Nell has the details.
A very clear message is being sent in general that they will retaliate. Of course, there are other means at Israel's disposal. They could go for something more in terms of asymmetric warfare, the likes of the Stuxnet computer worm that we saw in the past that was used to effectively disable key parts of Iran's nuclear program. This has been a shadow war that's gone on for so many years. It's, of course, causing so much concern for world leaders. They are trying to persuade Israel to exercise restraint.
Recapping the top story this hour, 14,889 candidates will contest 887 seats in the upcoming elections. This has been announced by the IEC in a briefing today at its headquarters in Centurion. Headlines at 1:30 for SAFM News. I'm Dinamo Daung.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
For the first time in 30 years, the ANC is set to lose its majority. Opposition parties have united as the multi-party charter for South Africa.
A strong democratic alliance with a proven track record
can anchor a new government that serves the people.
But a new government that works is only possible if you vote for it. Let's unite and rescue South Africa. Vote DA.
This political party advertisement was paid for by the political party concerned. The views expressed in this advertisement are those of the political party and not those of the SABC.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. Bridget Masinga is leading the conversation all across South Africa right now. Stay tuned to SAFM.
It's simple, I love it, having you near me, having you here, hot conversations, outrageous, you smile, and I smile, and I say, oh, this is getting personal, 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 let's stay for a while and play. Girl, let's make this a moment. Oh, giving you the best of me. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Oh, having you close to me. Amazing, outrageous. Give your best to me. Good morning, good morning. Here's breakfast. Lost track of time, but we had a ball. Let's catch a movie, then dinner. Tonight's the night we'll just unwind and stay. Hey, let's stay personal, personal, personal. Let's stay for a while. Hey, such a beautiful moment. Oh, giving you the best of me. Ooh, amazing, somewhat amazing, amazing. Oh, having you close to me, having you close to me. Amazing, amazing, outrageous. Yeah. Giving you the best of me, giving you the best of me. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Ooh, having you close to me, having you close to me. Amazing, amazing, outrageous. Give your best to me. Oh, oh.
It is Anthony Hamilton coming through with Best of Me, and that is how we kick off the show this afternoon. Quite a phenomenal musician who spends a lot of time in South Africa, and I think if memory serves correct, he was here in 2022, if I'm not mistaken, because I do have a slight recall of speaking to him right here on SAFM. That's, of course, if I'm not having a moment of like deja vu or some kind of weirdness happening, but I do have a slight recall of that. He is very much fond of South Africa. That album called Back to Love, Anthony Hamilton with Best of Me. That is how we kick off the show. Hope that you are having a spectacular Tuesday thus far and all things are proceeding in accordance to your plan for the day. We've got quite a jam-packed show for you today. We're reflecting back on 30 years of democracy democracy. And of course, you know how we like to have this conversation. We like to enter it from the perspective of arts and culture and the role that, the CCIs have in an ever-evolving democracy. And of course, to uphold and preserve the principles that we also ideally seek out as South Africans. Also coming up, stages, pages, screens and more. And we're looking at Finding the Light, which is a musical by Mark Lottering. It's always quite, a gaggle of fun when Mark Lottering is in conversation with us. On the other side of 2 o'clock, it's all things health and wellness. It is a Tuesday after all, and winter is around the corner. So everything that we need to know around vaccines. It was on this very show last year that my producers had a conversation lined up with a professor of something vitamins and something at Wits University. It was a long-winded title, but I remember that he lectured on vitamins and as part of his course material, and he shattered all of our perceptions around multivitamins. So I'm hoping that today we don't have any dented bubbles when it comes to vaccines. We have that conversation on the other side of 2, and then we're going to wrap it up with the Wings for Life World Run. 086 000 2032 is the number that you can call us on if you'd like to be in conversation with us live on the show, or 061 410 4107 is our WhatsApp line. If you'd like to send through a WhatsApp voice note, you are more than welcome to do so. Alternatively, you can always find us as well live streaming on social media, and as you know, our handle is at SAFM Radio across all these social media platforms. Let's take a quick break here. We'll be right back.
Hi guys, your favorite mom vlogger here, talking all things family entertainment with Deal or No Deal now on SABC2 weekdays at 6:30 p.m. Umalume is trying to make it onto the show and have his life changed quick. Amanda Malume. Mama and I are the #1 Mubango fans at 9 p.m. all week because the storylines stay hot. And my 2 little people can't wait for May when Raid the Cage kicks off with SABC2. See La Familia, keeping those family bonds strong. Until next time.
South Africa is facing an increase in people diagnosed with non-communicable diseases such as diabetes, cancers, hypertension, lung problems, and obesity. This also increases the number of people living with these diseases and mental health.
Many people living with these preventable diseases may not be immediately aware unless they go for health screening and testing.
It is our responsibility to invest in our healthier future through regular physical activity, healthy diets, and avoiding risky health behaviors such as alcohol and tobacco use.
The Department of Health urges people to go for regular health screening for early detection and effective treatment if they are diagnosed with any of these conditions.
This message is brought to you by the National Department of Health.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
It is the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, on SAFM, leading the conversation. And our first conversation is with Ruben Pasha, who is the Heritage Education and Public Programs Manager out here at Con Hill. And of course, as you know, South African art, cultural and heritage institutions have played a very vital role in advancing democracy over the past 30 years by championing freedom of expression, celebrating cultural diversity, as well as amplifying our marginalized voices, and of course empowering citizens alike while still advocating for human rights. And Con Hill, alongside Apartheid Museum, are just 2 institutions that have really done incredible work in as far as upholding and preserving our histories, but also engaging our current, present, future. And we thought we'd have this conversation around the importance of such institutions with Ruben this afternoon. How are you doing, Ruben?
Good afternoon. I'm okay. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time. And I guess maybe let's start there. Let's start by, at times when you live within proximity of institutions and spaces of culture and heritage, you almost disengage from them as a citizen. But how important are these spaces? Spaces like Con Hill, spaces like the Apartheid Museum, as we reflect back on 30 years of South African democracy?
Okay. No. They are very important, especially in trying to communicate to the general audience about what happened in the past, what's currently happening in the space of activism, the role that activists played using different mediums like art. So if you a young person living today and you are not in touch with the history, places like Apartheid Museum and Constitution Hill are simple places you can go to and learn as much history about the transition to democracy in a very short period of time, opposed to going to take a course on it at university or so. Mm-hmm. And you can spend an hour, you can spend 2 hours, and then live with a wealth of information. And they do so by presenting it in a very easy to consume way. So these are places that preserves memory. These are places that continues to educate and are very important for our country, mm-hmm. especially for education in all fields of education, from formal education to non-formal education. So definitely museums and art institution places like Cornhill and Apartheid Museum have a huge role to play in educating society about the art history, but most importantly, this history we're talking about the process that South Africans underwent in fighting for this freedom that we have today, and how to preserve it and ensure that we retain it, because I think conflict around the world shows us that it's not guaranteed. It can be taken away so easily.
Absolutely. And when one looks at, Constitution Hill, for instance, it's regarded as a living museum, and I want to unpack that a little bit, because how I understand that is there's been a very conscious a very conscious sort of deliberate move with Constitution Hill to make it live, to make it accessible, to make it engage and open to the community that it's located in, firstly, but also to broader South African society. And that's been very deliberate by the team that looks after and heads up that particular space.
Yeah, I think a concept of a living museum is one that says it is dynamic. It's continually growing and changing with different eras. It's not static. It's not stuck in a particular period of time. So what we grew up knowing museums to be is that it's a place where you're going to learn about fossils that are stuck in a particular era, teaching you about certain how people used to live in a particular era. But what Cornhill does is that it does not only educate you about the history of our people in terms of apartheid, transition to democracy, constitutionalism. It also now looks at what is currently going on and in our country. I'll give you an example. The right to life is a landmark case that was done post-democracy. And now Constitution Hill will create exhibitions and dialogues and programs around what is happening currently, and then has an outlook towards the future as well. So it's not a museum that is stuck in a particular period of time. It's a museum that is able to take current issues, and is a museum that is able to envision the future as well. So that's the whole process of being dynamic makes it what we call a living museum, and it's able to also be participatory, where we can get people to be part of building this memories and preserving memories together with the museum. Sorry.
No, continue, Ruben.
Okay, no, I was just saying a simple case of cases that happens in a constitutional court at Cornhill. A very simple example of what I'm talking about to say there could be a case that looks at the instrumentality of the definition of rape in the Concord, which becomes a landmark case, and we invite the audience at Cornhill to engage on the outcome of the case, what it means, and then that could result in an exhibit that is being displayed at Cornhill, and then that becomes new content and material to educate for future. So it's dynamic and living in that respect.
And I think the examples that you sort of put forward for us to understand how the space evolves itself and expands itself beyond just the legislature and into a space of artistic and cultural expressions as well. It also speaks to it holding a responsibility to be responsive to social events and what's going on in the country, which speaks, I think, in tandem to exactly what arts and culture are supposed to do, and that space sort of bringing those two worlds together.
Definitely. I mean, arts and culture has always played a role in activism throughout the years. If you know Miriam Makeba, you know of a famous song, Aluta Kontinua. This is a musician who used her music to advocate for change, to campaign for support, for international solidarity for South Africa transitioning into democracy in her own way, using music across when people were barred from expressing activism openly. Then you have artists like your Malin Dumas, your Dumile Fenis, who made artworks that demonstrated in a subtle way, or in a way against oppression and apartheid. So artists in their different mediums in the past and currently have always played a role in ensuring human rights, participating in activism, and you see all of that evidence throughout the years. Now, Cornhill is one museum that, yes, including, I keep referring to the Concord because it's an amazing court that not just advocates for justice, but a court that has an art collection, which is something that is very rare to see. But that just shows the role the art plays in a place of justice, and activism that I spoke about. You just walk in the foyer of the court and you see the famous words, Aluta Continua, in the court. And it ties you back to what I said by Miriam Makeba. It ties you back to what I said about artists playing a role in social change. But it should not just be stuck with the artists of the past or those who are now living legends. I think it calls upon artists of today to say, how are you using your art today to advocate for social change and then preservation of human rights and democracy that is we've seen that is so easy to lose.
Absolutely. And I wonder, how easy it, or maybe easy is the wrong word, but for lack of a better one at this moment, how easy it would be for institutions of cultural and historical heritage in South Africa to create, more conducive environments where artists and activists can sort of inhibit the spaces for the purpose of free expression. Because again, I point to the fact that I know there's been a concerted effort at Cornhill by the CEO, and the entire team has gotten rallied behind her for it to be a particular space, to inhibit itself as a living museum. But is this something that we can transpose into other institutions of historical significance in South Africa, obviously barring in different ways than how Cornhill has?
No, definitely. I mean, Cornhill is an example of what you can do with this museums or heritage institutions. I mean, what you can only compare Cornhill as a prison, a museum to Robben Island. But now you look at what happens on the ground on a daily basis, how Cornhill is functioning. We've repurposed the old prison cells into music recording studios, creating a space for musicians to engage and create programming on a daily basis. We have repurposed some of the old prison cells into gallery spaces for visual artists to come and to have exhibitions. I mean, I'm talking now, we have an exhibition by Nivan Chetu talking about the Freedom Charter. He's showcasing Freedom Charter portraits, how his interpretation on that, but also educating the young people about the Freedom Charter. We've repurposed the old nurses' home, a 4-story building, into low-cost, accessible studio spaces for the creative sector, SMMEs, from all multi-sectors, from fashion to visual art to music, all sectors. So Cornhill now presents a very a clear model of what you can do with these museum institutions, with heritage institutions, to create a space where artists, creatives can work in a space, collaborate, co-create with these museums, but also make their input in the topic we're talking about today.
Absolutely. Let's pause it there for a second, and we'll come right back after the news headlines. 086 000 2032 if you'd like to weigh in on your thoughts this afternoon on this conversation, or 0614104107 is our WhatsApp line, and you can always send through your WhatsApp voice notes there. We're reflecting back on 30 years of democracy and how art and cultural and heritage institutions can be custodians of democracy as they continue to evolve and engage society.
SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation.
With the headlines, I'm Dino Motaung. Good afternoon. Transport Minister Sindisiwe Chikunga has made assurances that the new driver's license machine would be procured in time. In other news, Deputy President Paul Mashadile has condemned the killing of traditional leaders, especially in KwaZulu-Natal. And South Korea is marking 10 years since its worst ever maritime disaster, in which more than 300 people died, most of them school children. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
It is the full circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, on SAFM. 086 000 2032 and 0614104107. A year later, and sometimes I get caught off guard, and I still want to say that it's the art of everything. And I think specifically when I'm having conversations, that are centered around the arts and creative sectors. We are in conversation with Ruben Pasha, who's with the Constitution Hill. He's the Heritage and Education and Public Programs Manager out at Cornhill. And Ruben, let's talk about, and I know we are being specific to Cornhill, but I also want to throw in, and reflect maybe on a space like the Apartheid Museum. It's not a space that you work in or that you engage with on a daily basis, but I wonder the importance of a space like that, especially a space that holds such pain. Equally so to Cornhill, but I guess maybe from a different perspective. It almost reflects the very worst of us as South Africans in a space like that. Is it still possible as we move forward into, the next 30 years of democracy, as we continue to expand and grow ourselves as South African society and reflect upon our past and our present? How do we make spaces like that, spaces that hold a lot of darkness for the nation as a whole? How do we continue to make them inclusive whilst being reflective and at the same time still relatable to maybe even the ideals of where we're trying to be and how we see ourselves?
I think temporary exhibitions are an answer to making spaces like that very relatable. I mean, the museum exhibits of Apartheid Museum are very important to educate, especially people who will very easily not know, who were not born at the time of apartheid. The current young people of today will need to go back to something to learn what apartheid was all about, all the segregational laws. But to make it relevant to them with the issues that they might be experiencing today, I think it is upon our visual artists, our multimedia artists of today to create content or temporary exhibitions that sort of relate a story to today's issues against the backdrop of all the exhibitions that we have in Apartheid Museum, for instance, and then to make the content more relatable. I'll give you an example that is out of the question you gave me. Constitution Hill, we run a festival called Basha Uhuru, which is coming up in June. The festival is looking at the issues that the young people today are facing, be it unemployment or whatnot, but it's premised then against the backdrop of the issues that the 1976 youth were having. So the real issue in the background is the 1976 struggle by the youth, but then now you relate it to the current issues of the youth today. So in a very similar fashion, museums that tell a particular story that maybe is fixed in time can easily use temporary exhibitions and programming to relate to current issues of today. So it is very important. We should not do away with those kind of exhibitions because lest we forget, but make it relatable by looking at what today's issues are, and it will work that way.
Yeah, and for me, I think it also speaks to everything that we've sort of discussed today thus far. Speaks to giving platform for we the people to tell our own stories and to own also simultaneously our past. And no matter how painful that is, it becomes critical for justice, for equity, as well as just for healthy existence.
No, definitely. I think we need to learn from what the movement of UDF was, and I think that's something that stopped prematurely as well. But hopefully, institutions like museums and archival institutions like South African History Archives are able to preserve those stories about what activism in the UDF days was like, so that South Africans today can still continue to become activists in the spaces that they are, so that you do not just let people to define what your livelihood becomes while you watch from the stands, but you become an active participant in cultivating the democracy that we have, and you do not just watch, especially in this year of 30 years of democracy and a voting year. I think that's when our activism needs to wake up a little bit more, and that these stories that museums like Apartheid Museum and Cornhill are trying to preserve, let's find a way of preserving them in our own spaces as well, and then whether it is through affordable means that we have, maybe through a mural in a community, maybe through a dialogue in our community-based organizations, maybe the programs that we have with schools. I think it's something that it does not need to happen only around the museum spaces, but it needs to carry on into communities as well. But museums can be a catalyst for those activities to happen in the communities. And that's where the we the people comes through as well.
Just as a parting shot, Ruben, and I know it's probably a bit of a curveball, I wonder, do we run the risk of, as you talk about the story of UDM and archivists having to come to the party to tell those other stories that may have been lost, along the wayside of our history. I wonder, how do we safeguard from ensuring that we don't, from this point onwards, we don't archive history from a one-dimensional perspective, that we don't archive history from a singular lens, when we are all in agreement of the diversity of us as a people and the diversity of our beliefs, and also just the plethora of people and organizations that have come together to form the South Africa that we know.
I hear what you're saying, and then I think the preservation of history and what we show in museums and what we decide to archive is always going to be influenced by who's in power and who has the majority and who has the bigger voice. We need to safeguard against that. Definitely, that's for sure. But I think it starts with an inclusive, a participatory we the people. Because if we the people leave it to Constitution here, management and curators to decide on a public institution that belongs to them, then you're only leaving it to the few people who might be thinking a particular way. If we do not get involved and realize that this is our institutions, then you're running a risk of having a marginal view or a very limited view on whose histories and stories and who you decide to preserve, you decide to archive, you decide to commemorate, and in what manner a story is being told as well. So I think the outcome of our discussion today could be, as a South African, you need to realize that the institutions we're talking about are yours. The democracy we're talking about is yours. When you sit back and you don't participate actively, you simply allowing a particular narrative to continue without you. You're not part of shaping it. We definitely are going to run the risk of a certain institution telling a particular narrative that is very exclusive and not inclusive.
Ruben, I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for this conversation. It was very, very wholesome indeed. I wanted to use a phrase by, the youth out there and say it was all that and then some. That was Ruben Pasha, who is Heritage Education and Public Programs Manager at Cornhill, as we reflected back on 30 years of democracy and, of course, the role of arts and institutions of heritage as custodians of our democracy and where they all fit in the conversation. It's just gone 22 at 2 o'clock. Let's take a quick pause here. We'll come right back on the other side of this.
Join Smile Foundation for a movie night under the stars featuring Sing 2 on Saturday, 20th of April at Old Ed Sports Grounds. To book, visit smilefoundationsa.org. This is an SABC supported initiative.
For the first time in 30 years, the ANC is set to lose its majority. Opposition parties have united as the multi-party charter for South Africa.
A strong democratic alliance with a proven track record
can anchor a new government that serves the people.
But a new government that works is only possible if you vote for it. Let's unite and rescue South Africa. Vote DA.
This political party advertisement was paid for by the political party concerned. The views expressed in this advertisement are those of the political party and not those of the SABC.
Arts, culture, and robust conversations with Bridget Masinga.
I mean, I think he secretly just knew that whenever we get in conversation together, it will take up the entire show. And so he's politely excused himself this afternoon and handed over the reins to Jessica Ross, who's the producer of this particular production that is set to come to South Africa. Finding the Light is what it's titled. It's an evening with musical theatre stars from New York's Broadway, London's West End, of course, South Africa, with the Cape Town Philharmonic Orchestra in accompaniment. And it's hosted by the incomparable Mark Lottering. And it's set to premiere out at the Artscape Opera House in Cape Town. Jessica, how are you doing?
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm good, thanks.
It's only a pleasure.
How are you doing?
I'm great. Only a pleasure indeed. Thank you for taking the time. Finding the Light, I mean, it reads like a theater, a theater lover's absolute dream come true, bringing together talents of three phenomenal territories.
Yeah, I mean, we are so excited with the cast and the team we've been able to put together. We're incredibly excited about, of course, the most important piece, the music. So we have an incredibly exciting repertoire that really spans, multiple decades, so many different backgrounds and contexts, and is really aligned with, Finding the Light is about more than the show, really. But at the heart of it is two ideas. One, that we all need to come together as much as possible. And so around the show, we're doing a lot of other initiatives that are going to bring an enormous amount of organizations and resources together for groups working in our communities. But then also just celebrating the role that music and the arts play in our lives, that really we're connecting not only to each other, but really to the best of ourselves. And so, yeah, we are incredibly excited. It's all on stage. We're teching and rehearsing, and it's going to be beautiful.
Oh, I mean, listen, it already sounds incredible. Let's talk a little bit about the collaboration also between, our local stars, the likes of Jonathan Rossmoth, alongside the likes of international stars, Nikki Renee Daniels and Michael Xavier. How does that all come together?
Yeah, so the producer, Daniel Galloway, and I and my husband, David Haben, who's a former West End performer himself, just really wanted to bring the very best of local talent, so South African talent. And we just, as you know, have such amazing performers like Jonathan, like Linnell Kennett, we have Lucy Tops and Tsepo. And then internationally, we've been, very privileged, I think, that for the stars, it really resonated to have a chance, one, to come to beautiful Cape Town, but also to be involved with a project that was not only a really, wonderful opportunity to sing a very varied repertoire with other wonderful singers, but also to be involved in something that ultimately is going to have an impact on their communities as well. So yeah, it's been very exciting and lovely to see the two sides of the world, or so it's like three parts of the world, come together on the stage. It's very exciting.
And did I also hear, Jessica, as you say, that the production's going to have an impact outside of the Artscape Opera House, and it directly touches the communities in and around Cape Town. Did I also hear that you've partnered up with the Kolisi Foundation on this one?
That's right. So Finding the Lights is actually a foundation that is brand new. We bill it as events rooted in music and the spirit of Ubuntu. And really it's about bringing together lots of different people and stakeholders for different reasons. And our mission is also to raise as much money as we can for organizations who are doing the really hard work of running programs that support local communities. And so we were very privileged that Rachel Kolisi, as CEO of the Kolisi Foundation, and the Kolisi Foundation, agreed to come on board this crazy ride. And so we had a big fundraising dinner for them in London last month. We, of course, are running this show. We're going to be running a general appeal asking all South Africans to get on board and support their amazing work. And they are such an inspiration in terms of just getting up and doing what you can with what you have, where you are. I mean, they themselves really launched the foundation in the middle of COVID and just knew something needed to be done and kind of got in their car and started delivering, food to people who really needed it in COVID. And so just that spirit of taking action is something I think South Africans are very familiar with. We're very resilient. And so, we're delighted to be supporting their programs, which focus on food security, gender-based violence, and creating safe spaces through education and sports. And then one of the pieces I'm quite excited about is on Friday this week, we're going to have 30 organizations coming together to talk about the role of trauma and mental health in our societies, which is a very big thing in South Africa, as you may know. And one of the topics is also going to be the incredible role that music can play in scalable and really groundbreaking interventions, just linking back to that idea that, music really does inspire us and heal us. And that's part of what we're celebrating, Finding the Lights.
Absolutely. And that's a beautiful way and a beautiful note for us to segue into the 2-hour musical theatre event that's, of course, being hosted by resident Cape Townian Mark Lottering at the Artscape. And what are people in store for?
Yeah, so I bring your tissues, be prepared to laugh. It's going to be a musical journey. We obviously have the incredible Cape Town Philharmonic. We have some original scoring and a wonderful musical team. And then, of course, some very, very special vocal performances, beautiful duets. We were literally all just in tears, and shows, from the Best Love, Les Mis, West Side Story, Company, to the really contemporary shows like Greatest Showman, and Frozen, Dear Evan Hansen, which is going to be coming to South Africa soon. And so, we hope that it's going to be just a real musical journey and incredibly feel-good fun. And then, of course, Mark happens to be a funny guy. So we're delighted that he'll be there to link it all together and also champion the cause of the Khaleesi Foundation.
Sounds like really quite the night indeed. And it opens up tomorrow, by the way, on the 17th of April, and it's running until the 21st. Just as we part ways, Jessica, the easiest way for anybody who wants to procure your VIP packages, because you've got quite a few packages on offer, I know, and some give you great access. You can go meet and greet the celebs and take some pictures on the theatre red carpet and be part of all of that merriment. Where do people go to get more information about the tickets and packages?
Absolutely. So all tickets are through web tickets, and our VIP packages include lots of benefits and some sparkling wine, parking, but then very importantly, actually parking is pretty important, but very importantly, the opportunity to meet the cast. And of course, there's an included donation to the Khaleesi Foundation for those who want to support. And so, come along. It's going to be great fun. We'd love to have you there. For anyone who can't be there, you can also log on to the Finding the Light website, which is www.ftl.org.uk, and there's an option to make a donation directly to the Khaleesi Foundation and tag the foundation and directly support that way. But hopefully we'll see you in person.
Absolutely. Jessica Ross, thank you so much. And Jessica Ross is the producer of Finding the Light in the UK and, of course, a co-founder as well. All right. From us, it's time for us to head into Kids Corner. It's just gone at 10 to 2 o'clock, and then it should run us to the top of the hour with the news. Web tickets, by the way, is where you go in order for you to get the tickets for that musical extravaganza.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 105.5 FM in Tabazimbi. This program is brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives.
Good day everyone, my name is Amongoza Mayana. Today I will be talking about natural nails. Yes, I love growing my natural nails, but I cut them every 2 weeks or so, depending on how fast they grow. My dad usually reminds me to trim them, and sometimes I remind myself. I didn't know that nails can store germs. That's gross, to deal with germs under my nails. I'll make sure to wash my nails and hands thoroughly and trim my nails straight across to avoid trapping dirt and germs. When I wash my hands, I'll take extra time to scrub under my nails too. Thank you for the tips, and I hope you guys learned something new today. See you next time. Bye.
Hi, my name is Danica Wood. I love growing my natural nails. I usually cut my nails once or so a month. I usually just file it and put on clear nail polish. My mother usually reminds me to cut my nails because she sometimes says that my nails are too long. Yes, I do know that nails can store germs underneath them. A solution could be to regularly clean your nails with a nail brush and to make sure that your hands are thoroughly washed. I make sure to take extra time when washing my hands to clean underneath my nails to prevent the build-up of germs. Thank you.
No, I do not like to grow my natural nails because when it is big, they catch germs easily. I cut my nails every after 2 weeks. I usually see that my nails is big now, and I cut it myself. Yes, I know that nails can store germs. That's why I do not like to grow my nails. A solution to deal with germs that can stay under my nails. I must always cut the nail and always wash my hands. Yes, if I wash my hands, I take time because I want it to be clean.
Greetings, my name is Praise Ziba. Today I'll be talking about the importance of cutting my nails and when I wash them. I don't like growing my natural nails, especially on my hands, so I usually bite them instead of cutting them so that I can keep them clean. And then my toenails, sometimes my mother reminds me to cut them, but sometimes I do it myself. And sometimes I do look at my nails and try cleaning them when I wash my hands in the bathroom.
My name is Risitsa Makanga. I'm 9 years old. I cut them on a Sunday because during the week I have a lot of things to do and I don't have time to do it because I need to do my school work. I use a nail clipper, and if I'm lazy to go and fetch it, I just bite them off.
Hi everybody, my name is Mushfiqat Talib. I cut my nails whenever it starts to grow long because in my culture, we're not supposed to have long fingernails, so I keep them as short and neat as possible. I've never bitten my nails, and to be honest, I do not like nail biters. I find it really disgusting and gross. So instead, I use a nail clipper to cut my nails, and I do not bite them.
My name is Catherine, and I cut my nails as soon as they grow out long, but I can't even find a nail cutter in the house. I don't bite off my nails because it's not healthy. I always use a nail clipper. The dangers of biting your nails is you can fill your mouth with bacteria. Then when you swallow something, it can lead to diarrhea, which can lead to death also. That's why I don't bite my nails. Or I think you shouldn't bite your nails because it's not safe. I think you should use a nail clipper because it cuts off your nails easily and you don't have to bite them off. I think it is important for kids to practice cleanliness all the time so that you don't live that dirty life of being lazy and some things always smell around your room. It must be clean and neat.
Hello friends! I hope you are all doing well today. Let's chat about the importance of maintaining good hygiene for your fingernails and toenails. As children, you're probably used to hearing reminders about washing your hands to keep germs away. But did you know that cleaning and trimming your nails is just as important? Your nails can actually harbor a variety of germs and bacteria, which could lead to infections if not properly taken care of. It is important to understand the significance of keeping your nails clean and neatly trimmed for your overall health. To start with, simply washing your hands may not be sufficient to eliminate all the germs hiding beneath your nails. Bacteria and dirt can easily build up in the gaps between your nails and skin, especially if your nails are long. Be sure to wash your hands regularly and use a brush to clean underneath your nails. By doing this, you'll significantly reduce the risk of spreading harmful bacteria and viruses. This simple habit can help prevent common infections like colds, flu, and even more serious illnesses. Additionally, keeping your nails short and well trimmed is important not only for a neat appearance, but also to reduce the risk of injury and infection. Long nails are more likely to break or tear, creating openings for bacteria to enter and cause infections. When your nails are too long, they can easily collect dirt and bacteria, increasing the chances of transferring germs to your mouth or other parts of your body. By regularly trimming your nails to a reasonable length, you can avoid such risks and maintain a good hand hygiene. Maintaining clean and trimmed nails isn't just beneficial for your own health, but also for the well-being of those around you. Consider this: when you touch objects or interact with others at school, you may unknowingly transfer whatever that is lingering around under your nails. Do not underestimate the importance of washing and trimming your nails regularly. These simple tasks are important for preventing infections and promoting good hand hygiene. By incorporating these habits in your daily routine, you are actively safeguarding yourself and those around you from harmful germs. So next time you feel like skipping nail care or rushing through hand washing, remember the significant impact these small actions have on your overall health and well-being.
This program was brought to you by SABC Education. Enriching minds, enriching lives. SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Leading the conversation.
This is promo number 3 for John Gericke's The Weekend. It's a music show between 10 and midnight here on SAFM. Tell us what you thought about my promos. And you're not allowed to lie and say it was good.
No, I wasn't going to lie. They suck.
So how would you do it?
With a little bit of structure.
Structure.
And better voiceover artists. I can outsource my voice for you if you need one.
If you were to do a 5-second sting for The Weekend with John Gericke, how would you do it? Ready and action.
You're listening to the white guy, John Gericke.
As the nights get colder, the weekend gets hotter.
Top stories: new driving license card printing machine still to be secured, and IEC announces the number of candidates. With the news, I am Dinomo Daung. Good afternoon. Transport Minister Sindisiwe Chikunga has made assurances that the new driver's license machine would be procured in time. The new driving license cards are to be rolled out at the end of the month. This after the current card printers have been bogged down with technical issues over the past few years, leading to intermittent breakdowns and backlogs of driver's license cards. Minister Chikunga says they are at the tail end of procuring a new printing machine for the license cards.
With that, had to travel to France to see for themselves the machine and so on and so forth. I wouldn't want to go into details about that because of that. I can tell you now that before the end of this month, we'll be printing new driving licenses, and we'll launch at least the first 100 per province.
We shift gear now to some election news. 14,889 candidates will contest 887 seats in the upcoming elections. This has been announced by the IEC in a briefing today at its headquarters in Centurion. The contestants comprise 70 political parties, 15 of which are contesting all tiers of the elections, with 31 of them running for the first time. 11 independent candidates will also contest the polls. The majority of candidates are between the ages of 40 to 49, with 15 candidates being aged 18 and also being first-time voters. Males comprise 58% of candidates, with women being 42% of the contestants. In other news, Deputy President Paul Mashatile has condemned the killing of traditional leaders, especially in KwaZulu-Natal. Mashatile has further urged Amakhosi and Izinduna to continue working closely with the government to address the killing of traditional leaders effectively. The Deputy President was speaking at a government dialogue with the National House of Traditional and Khoisan leaders in Pretoria today.
Government will condemn these acts of violence and urge the community to serve as the government eyes and ears on the ground by reporting those who conspire or have committed such crimes to the appropriate authorities in those areas. Our law enforcement agencies are also working hard to hold those responsible to account.
Moving to the Eastern Cape, Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry Fikile Majola has commended the work done by Orion Farm Project in the province, saying that it is a huge economic booster for the province. Majola was speaking during a visit to the Kuhaf Development Corporation to assess the progress of the farm tank project, which is developing tanks that store carbon black feedstock oil used in the manufacturing of tires. Majola says the Eastern Cape is producing tires that are being exported to other countries.
That they are the only ones. They may be small in size, but they're the only one that provide a specialized product that can make our tires black as we know them today. So if Orion had to leave the Eastern Cape, it means that we're going to all our automotive companies, we're going to have to import.
Lastly, South Korea is marking 10 years since its worst ever maritime disaster, in which more than 300 people died, most of them school children. The overloaded ferry capsized and sank while crossing to a holiday island of Jeju. The BBC's Jean Mackenzie reports.
This morning, the mothers who lost their children that day were taken out to sea. They threw white flowers overboard into the same waters where the ferry capsized and sank. Investigators at the time found that the boat had undergone unsafe renovations and had been dangerously overloaded. As it sank, the schoolchildren were told to stay in their cabins while the captain and the crew escaped. The captain was sent to prison for life, but it's clear today that for some of the families, their wounds and anger are still raw.
Recapping the top story this hour, Transport Minister Sindisiwe Chikunga has made assurances that the new driver's license machine would be procured in time. Headlines at 2:30 for SFM News. I'm Dino Motaung.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 104.3 FM in Rustenburg. The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
No
Ndizothandwa ngubani na andishiya le ndoda uzothandwa ndim uzothandwa ndim uzothandwa 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 ndim uzothandwa ndim uzothandwa 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 ndim uzothandwa ndim uzothandwa 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 ndim uzothandwa ndim yeah. Abangani bayandixwayisa ndiyamthanda ndiyamthanda he says it's my fault maybe indeed he was never like this I need him 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 he says it's my fault maybe indeed he was never like this I need him ndizothandwa ngubani na andishiya le ndoda ndizothandwa ngubani na andishiya le ndoda ndizothandwa ngubani na andishiya le ndoda ndizothandwa 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 ngubani uzothandwa ndim uzothandwa ndim ndizothandwa uzothandwa ndizothandwa ndim ndizothandwa ndim ndizothandwa 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 ndim ndizothandwa ndim ndizothandwa uzothandwa uzothandwa ndim uzothandwa ndim
It is the incomparable vocals of Amanda Black. I mean, I don't know about the chorus of that particular song. You know, it almost speaks to the scarcity of that gender, but there'll always be someone in the pipelines. If you speak to aunties and, and abokoko, so they'll always tell you, hey man, baning labantu, khona uzokuthanda somewhere down the line. It's just gone 10 past 2 o'clock on the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga on SAFM, leading the conversation. And because it is a Tuesday after 2, we thought we'd take a little bit of a focus on all things health and wellness. And we're going to catch up with Dr. Kathleen Zellmaker, who is a family physician and the medical director of Netcare's primary care division. And we're looking at, flu vaccines. Of course, flu season is looming. In fact, it could even be upon us at this juncture. And health experts always emphasize the importance of us getting vaccinated and protected against the influenza virus. And so we thought we'd invite Dr. Kathleen today to shed some light for us on flu vaccines and everything that we need to know in order to stay protected. Good afternoon to you, Dr. Kathleen. How are you doing today?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for having me on the show this afternoon. And
it's only
I hope everyone is well.
It's only a pleasure. I mean, I guess we kind of change of season and all the rest of it, not exhibiting any flu symptoms or signs as yet, touch wood. And as we get into that conversation, maybe, we take it for granted that we all are kind of familiar with flu. What flu is and how flu works, but especially, I guess, in light of us coming through COVID and lots of people talking about COVID being just a bad flu or a horrible flu, maybe let's get back to the basics of flus and how flu vaccines work in regards to influenza and the various influenza viruses, if there are variations.
Yes. Yeah. No, so it's actually, so thank you very much for having me. And I actually also started looking a bit into the history. The first influenza viruses were actually already discovered in 1933.
Oh.
And the first vaccine became available in 1945. Upon which the WHO actually responded and established a global influenza surveillance and response system in 1952. And since then, they are monitoring all these influenza strains and sorts, and there's an influenza A and B and C. And they're monitoring that to make sure that every year when we go into that season, the flu vaccine will protect us for those to those strains that they predict are going to be most common.
I see. So that implies then, Dr. Kathleen, that obviously the influenza virus is consistently morphing and evolving with humans' immunity and all the rest of it. And also simultaneously, the vaccines then are being adapted to be responsive and more protective over what is current to today.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. A virus will not be able to survive without its host. And every year it spreads, and every year it mutates, and every year there's different strains that form a potential harm.
Let's look at the different type of vaccines, or maybe before we get to the different types of vaccines, let's talk about how vaccines help, I guess, preemptively or proactively, because a few people, you meet one of two people. People who either believe in their vaccines and they take them religiously, or people who say the vaccines actually make me sicker.
Okay, so I think what often people are a little bit confused around is around influenza and a common cold.
Okay.
So the common cold is not something that is covered by an influenza vaccine, and a common cold is also a lot milder and shorter of duration. Okay, so a proper influenza comes with body aches, fever, congestion, tiredness, coughing, and often also goes to possibly develop a pneumonia or secondary bacterial infection. So you can really become very ill from an influenza, whereas a common cold doesn't do all that. But a common cold can also be like making you feel grotty and unable to work maybe for a couple of days. But there's definitely a difference. And I think where people say the influenza vaccine didn't help, well, they might have had some colds, but not actual influenza.
I see. Okay, so the sniffles is just the sniffles, you and your common cold. Influenza is literally the flu at level 10. When everything is paining, you've got the headache, you've got the aches and pains, you're hot, you're cold, you're exhibiting all of those symptoms. That then says it's influenza. You don't just have the cold and the sniffles.
Exactly. It takes you out. You're in bed.
I see. Yeah. And the vaccines, as you say, cover influenza viruses and not necessarily common colds.
Exactly. Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And then I think another thing that happens is that when you get vaccinated, okay, often your body's immune system responds to that. So you might feel a little bit cold, you might feel a little bit sore over where the vaccine was given. You might have a little bit of a headache, a little bit of body pain, but it's very mild.
Okay.
And it settles. It settles very quickly after the vaccination. But people might feel like, I'm getting very sick from this vaccine. But it's actually a sign that the vaccine is working. And your immune system is responding. and give it a couple of weeks, and those antibodies are there, and they will protect you for that season.
And can I also ask, do the flu or the influenza vaccines, do they work like, and maybe my memory could be shot here, but if I recall from, my primary school days when we were all getting vaccinated for things like measles and this and that or the other, some of the vaccines actually introduced a little bit of that into your system so that it could build up the antibodies to be able to fight it. Does it work the same way?
Yeah, so it's inactivated. Okay, so it's never a virus that is active that can really make you sick, but you want that immune system to start generating a response. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then in terms of the vaccines, are there various vaccines that are on offer on the market, or are they, annually there's sort of a standard vaccine that's released, and that's the one the shot that we all have for 2024?
Yeah. So in South Africa, we've got the quadrivalent vaccine, and that protects you against 4 types of influenza. 2 of the influenza A subtypes and 2 of the influenza B types. And that's the Vaxigrip or the InfluVac that are available.
And did I also understand you correct, right, that you said World Health Organization, amongst other medical fraternities, monitor the strains of influenza that could be dominant in that coming season?
Yes. Yeah. So there's Northern Hemisphere, there's Southern Hemisphere, and they, as I said, that response team, that surveillance system that was set up already, 70 years ago, more than 70 years ago, is constantly busy trying to monitor which viruses are in circulation, which strains, and as they evaluate and emerge, they make sure that when they develop the vaccination, that those viruses in circulation are covered.
Okay. Talk to us also about the potential side effects. So we chuckle a little bit that some people might talk about the influenza vaccine makes them a little bit, feel a little bit ill initially. But are there other side effects that could be caused by the influenza vaccine?
So over the vaccination side, some people feel that there's some swelling and some pain, sometimes a bit of redness. I already spoke about a mild fever, rash, headache, body aches, and it can happen in very rare cases that there is an allergic reaction. However, sometimes it's also difficult to understand whether it could also be from other medication.
I see. And these are not long-lasting symptoms, of course. They'll run their course within just a matter of days and maybe even hours.
Yeah. Generally, after a day, they should be gone.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then in terms of just the immunity perspective of it, does it then give you full immunity for the winter, especially around influenzas, or how long does immunity typically last?
Yeah. So the what we call humoral immunity is acquired through these vaccinations. It's very person dependent, but generally, yes, these will last. It takes about 2 weeks before the immune system has developed that response. So it is very important that you don't delay. And also, when you get your vaccination, if you are feeling very sick or if you are struggling with health issues in the first place, it's important that you don't go when you are very sick and then have a vaccination. So obviously, your immune system needs to be able to make that response. So then we sometimes say, rather we wait a week until you're well and then have the vaccination.
I was actually going to ask you that, when is the best time to get vaccinated? So now you said unequivocally, if you are sick in this moment already and your immune system is compromised already in this moment, rather wait a little bit until you're feeling better.
Yes, give your immune system also the opportunity to first fight that illness that you're struggling with now. And then allow it to do your immunization. Having said that, the cold weather all of a sudden is upon us. And we had a bit of a long, warm time still in March, but now there it is. And the cold weather definitely impacts on our immunity. The cold air exposed to that and your nasal mucosal membranes, they become more vulnerable to all the viruses. So and with the fact that it takes another 2 weeks before it's really effective, I would definitely urge our listeners to go for your flu vaccine because they're available now.
Absolutely. Let me throw a little curveball your way. And I wonder how flu vaccines work with other sort of protective measures. I'm thinking, for instance, I've come across a Globin injection. And I know it's used for a whole host of different things in the medical fraternity, and some people use it as some kind of immune boosting, especially athletes that are getting ready for training, don't want to get sick before the time. And I wonder if, can injections like that or similar to that also work with influenza vaccine medications, or we should just keep those things separate?
Yeah, so I would say try to keep that separate. Yeah.
I did
and the
say
berry globin is also not something that is indicated for the general public.
Absolutely. And then just as we wind down in our conversation, let's talk also about, just the misconceptions and some of the concerns that maybe are brought to physicians like yourself around vaccines. We did say that some people are non-believers and some people actually hold quite strong reasons as to why they're anti-vaccines, specifically influenza vaccines.
So the thing about vaccination, if you're in good health, it's not for you. It's not for yourself that you're doing it. It's something that you do to protect your loved ones. It's something to protect old granny. It's something to protect a friend that is struggling with cancer. It's something to protect your friend who just had a baby. So it's vaccinations is something. It's not. You can't be selfish. You know what I'm saying? It really is for the public. It's for your friends. It's for your loved ones. And we call it. You can be a vector. You might not be the one getting sick, but it doesn't mean that you can be the one that transmits it across from one individual to the other. And that's where you can stop it. That's why you vaccinate.
I see. And if you are a pregnant woman, for instance, I mean, I know you mentioned some categories of people that could have sensitivity to getting sick as we look at the concerns that people may have. But is it safe for pregnant women, for instance, to take and at any point in time for as long as they're healthy?
Yeah. So the vaccines are being developed that they are safe also during pregnancy. And it's definitely recommended for pregnant women till 2 weeks after birth to go for that vaccination.
All right. And then I guess by last question, the accessibility of these. We know that the retailers, the big pharmaceutical retailers, are quick with the advertising around influenza vaccines. Are they affordable for the general South African public? Are they things that are also maybe available at a community level, community clinics, the ones that are resourced, perhaps?
Yeah, so obviously the Department of Health also is providing all our vulnerable populations with influenza vaccines, and they are available in public and obviously also in all the private clinics. So at Medicross, for example, we've got special rates, and we really try to make it available to everyone at a very feasible price.
Yeah. Last question. Promise, Dr. Kathleen. Last question. Children, any ages that should not be vaccinated against the influenza virus, or it's all good for everybody?
So for children, The children below 2 years of age, because of the way that they hygiene measures and sometimes daycare, they are very close contact with each other, and they are also more at risk, the younger children, to develop a possible pneumonia from an influenza. So yes, the young children are definitely recommended. If you then go above 2, or just looking at certain diseases that children have, what is very common in children is asthma. And asthma is also definitely an indication to have your child vaccinated, because the child is at risk of respiratory illness like pneumonia.
Okay. So if you have an asthmatic child particularly, or even just an asthmatic family member, then it's most advisable to get the influenza shot.
Yeah. And if you look at chronic diseases amongst just normal adults, things like chronic heart disease, hypertension, diabetes, they're very common. And if you can protect your loved ones who are struggling with that chronic illness to get influenza, that's a good beat.
Absolutely. Dr. Kathleen Zellmaker, thank you for the time today. She's a family physician and, of course, the medical director of Netcare's primary care division. By the way, we want to ask you guys as you listen, we appreciate the time with you, Doc. As you listen to the show in our last 30 minutes, we want to ask you guys, what do you make of President Cyril Ramaphosa's response to the unemployed young lady during the ANC's door-to-door campaign in Butterworth? And we thought we'd just play you a clip of it quickly as we get into the news headlines. And you can give us your thoughts on it, 086 000 2032, 061 410 4107, because I did see on Twitter that, she was not very happy with her engagement with the president. She was rather let down by her engagement with the president. Let's go to the clip.
What did you study?
Communications.
Communications. How old are you?
10 years old.
So you are looking for work now?
I am. Then for someone.
Yeah, you must keep searching. You must also register on the Mobi. What did you study?
So the question from the president, because the audio, obviously they were out and about, so it's not crisp, but the question from the president in his engagement to the young lady in Butterworth is, what did you study after the pleasantries, of course? What did you study? And she says communications. And then I think he then asked, about her vocation and employment. And she goes on to say that she's unemployed at the moment. And he says that... okay, you must apply. You must send applications. And she was not left feeling as contentment. I guess not left feeling as though he probably understood her plight or gave her words of encouragement. And we wonder what your thoughts on that was. 086 000 2032 or 061 410 4107 is our WhatsApp line.
With headlines at 2:30, I am Dino Mudaung. Good afternoon. Alta's Executive Director, Accountability Division, Stephanie Fick, says the delay by the Department of Transport to redesign the driver's license card is concerning. In other news, the IEC has confirmed that former President Jacob Zuma's photo will be displayed on the voting ballot beside the name and emblem of the MK party. And the U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson says the Republican-controlled lower chamber will vote this week on separate wartime aid bills for Ukraine and Israel. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
Let's have the conversation. WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107.
Nice program as usual. I just want to comment on the response of the president to this lady who was telling her that she's looking for a job. I don't think the president could answer in such a manner when, in actual fact, he is the head of the country and should have come up with a better response That was being so sarcastic, if you could talk like that. Of course, he has deflated the young lady. There's a way as a parent when you talk to a child who is looking for a job, cannot just say, obviously that child is doing more than that. She has tried everything. All he could say is that they are also addressing the employment issue, not to just talk like that, especially when he's doing door-to-door. Oh, come on. Thank you. I'm calling from Butterworth.
Hi, good afternoon. I think that the response from the president, I'm not shocked by it, because at the end of the day, the presidency's got a hotline number, and that hotline number that they have, you can refer all complaints or undesired outcomes from any government institution and forward it to the hotline number. The response from there has been, it's an embarrassment. That's what it is.
Hi, my take on the response of the president towards the lady, I think it was fair. It was fair. We cannot expect the president to be giving jobs to everyone that he meets. It's just really, I think it was fair. We need to apply. We need to do something. So, for me, I think I would, if I was a president, I would have responded the same way. Please apply. Please try by all means to do something. Because really, the president cannot be giving everyone a job. It's just not possible.
All right. Mixed reviews, but I think in gist, a lot of people a little bit disappointed with the president's exchange with the young lady from Butterworth. She was expressing that she's qualified in communications and she's looking for a job. And his response was, keep searching. I had to listen to it again whilst you guys were sending the voice note. Verbatim, he said, keep searching. And then he provided her with some portal that she could possibly use. Okay, interesting. Last voice note says that if he was the president, he would have responded the same, because it's not fair to expect the president to give everybody jobs. And then Mayor from Butterworth, I love the, oh, come on, not from a president. And I think maybe it's not about the president giving her a job or offering her a job on the spot. It's about being presidential, man. Yabo, umtutuz, umuntu mfake encouragement, I think. Brian in Cape Town, would you have liked a little bit of oomph from the president?
Brian Bango here from Cape Town. I think the president, he was on the spot there, and that's the only answer that he could come up with. And obviously, like the other gentleman said, we cannot expect the president to be dishing out jobs. Just in regard to my own personal story, I resigned, during COVID, and I started my own construction business, and I'm successful, I think people need to just create jobs and not always looking for dish outs and always looking for jobs, but look what you can create as a job. And maybe you can obviously benefit other people. But don't always look to be
Yabona, the way you phrase it, Brian.
An employer.
Yabona, the way you phrase it. If you were the president and you had given me that encouragement, Yabona, you are putting umfuto behind you. You're saying, Nami, I was in a weird predicament at some point, but I saw the opportunity. I created an avenue. But you just said somebody keep searching. But thank you, Brian. Thank you. And congratulations on finding the opportunity and making a success out of it. Temba in Kabeja, how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Temba, now do you want to keep searching?
No, I just want to offer what would have been my response.
Yes.
Firstly, there is nothing wrong with the answer or response of the president.
Okay.
People would simply say that, but I would say that's an over-the-counter response by the president or the executive mayor or the ward councillor to an extent. What I was confronted by such, because I was once a ward councillor, people who did not have means to bury their own people.
Yes.
Just to give you an example. And people will come, and I will put the pride of the office that it does not have such funds.
Mm-hmm.
And but then I will offer words of encouragement to say, certainly, have you contacted members of the family? No, we've not. Do you need a phone call to contact those that are outside town? We will. But then once he leaves or that family leaves, I will send my administrative office.
Mm-hmm.
Go attend the umtandazo in the evening.
Mm.
Just observe what is happening around that family and ask the neighbors as to what is happening. Because we don't want to spend money where people have got resources, but they're hiding behind. Then I will get the response that no. That home is battling really. Then I will go out of my way to offer finances to bury the dead one or the one who is passed. But then the president should have said, given this over-the-counter answer as he did, but immediately his aides next to him should have identified, or he should have directed one of his aides, take the contact numbers of that individual. The president is exposed to many companies and many people that if he says, I've been to the campaign, I've come across these families, they do not have a roof over their head, they do not have this, they do not have uniform, they're looking for the job. Please, can you see what you can do? Private companies are always willing to intervene where the president directs them without expecting anything.
Absolutely.
This is what they do for us as politicians when I was one.
Temba, thank you so much for your input. Siyabonga indeed. And I think maybe I love the proactiveness of taking the context, following up, seeing where you can plug in, because yes, that kind of planning comes later. But in that moment of interaction, that over-the-counter response, hey man, it gives that coldness. Muzi in Joburg, how are you?
I'm good at you, Bridget.
I'm good.
I'm actually laughing at you saying it gives that coldness, yabanda. But I think, Bridget, the president, for me, he was spot on to actually answer or maybe respond in the manner that he responded on. Because I'll give you an example. He's the president of the state of South Africa. And where we've got a high number of unemployment of young people, it will be not correct for him to actually, yes, it's a spur of a moment at a particular point, but it wouldn't be correct for him to have a special preference treatment to an individual at that particular point. So the answer for me, it came as a blanket answer for every young South African that is out there looking for a job, to say, keep on applying, because the applications are also not about government jobs. But the applications, as Umuzi, as he's applying out there, he's also applying in private companies to be an employee in private. So they keep on applying is not only applicable to government, but it's also applicable overall to every young South African applying in government and also in private sector. So for me, the answer was spot on, because tomorrow, us and also the media, tomorrow would have said, why is this young lady getting preferred treatment when we've got a high number of unemployment? Why is she the only one who's being referred to company A or company B and their follow-ups? So for me, it's a general answer for every young black South African who's out there looking for a job.
I hear you, Muzi, and it definitely, listen, I guess you're right. It creates a rock and a hard place for a president, and he can't, nitpick who he helps and how he helps. And I just want, sometimes you just want the president to talk to you like, babwako. You know what I mean?
I understand that.
You just want him to put his arms around you and say, tomorrow is going to be a better day.
Take it in this manner, Bridget. It's you and your siblings, 5 of you, who go to your dad and say, Dad, can I get a 50 rand? And your dad only has 150 rand in his pocket. What is he going to do? Is he going to give you the 50 rands or not?
Divide that 50 rand by 10. Thank you, Muzi. Nati in KZN, let's take you as our last caller. How are you? I'm good, thank you. Go ahead.
I'm good. No, I think the lady, in my opinion, we should make reference to the Bible. I remember in the Bible, even though I'm not a religious person, but there was a person who came in, and then he was looking for help from Jesus, and then he asked from Jesus, And then, in fact, it was a lady. She said, she was asking, what are you looking for? And then she explained herself what she wanted.
Yeah.
So I think the lady was not strategic enough. She should have said, I'm looking for a job. Can you, Mr. President, find me a job?
Okay, she should have been specific. Nati, thank you.
Yes, specific. Don't say, I'm unemployed. Just say, President, find me a job. Because I've been applying, but I can't find a job. Please assist me on that one. That is my opinion.
All righty. Thank you, Nati. Thank you very much. You got to love our callers and our listeners. And this is why we do these shows, to hear exactly what is the sentiment on the ground. What are your thoughts, Ashraf? I mean,
About what? All I know is vaccination is the last time I heard. When I was driving, have you taken your flu vaccination? And I told myself, I have not taken one in 15 years.
You better take
I've taken the COVID one, but not the flu one. That's what I've heard.
No, we're busy, reflecting on the president's comments to the young lady.
About the job?
Yes.
What did he say? Keep searching.
Keep searching.
Look, to be fair, I need to see the whole thing in context. Sometimes these things can get cut into different pieces, okay?
All we have is 15 seconds.
Well, he can't give her a job, but maybe he should have been a bit more compassionate.
I
think that's the key word.
Yes.
Look, put his arms around her. Look, I really hope you get something. Do not give up. It's really important.
You see?
If it's a cold, but that's on the basis of what I saw.
This is what I was saying, Ashraf. Compassion.
So maybe try it out with me. Just say you're looking for a job.
Mr. President, I'm qualified. I'm qualified in communications and broadcasting, and I've been unemployed for a couple of years, and I'm just, I just need a job.
Well, keep searching.
What's coming up today?
There we are. In fact, I'll part of the feature that I have called That's My Point. We'll talk about the elections and how do you go about voting for the party that you ultimately will make that axe for. So that's important. There's a conversation about police incompetence in dealing with GBV victims in the Western Cape in particular. Okay. As part of the Global Watch, we'll look at donors pumping in money into war-stricken Sudan, and naturally with the elections, an update on pronouncements by the IEC. All that and a whole lot more. The National Pulse, 3 to 6.
Looking forward to it.
Keep searching, yeah.
I'll let you know in the update. Ashraf Gada coming through at 3 to 6 on the National Pulse. Let's take a quick break and then we'll come right back.
I am Dion De Vos, the Executive Mayor of Sarah Baartman District Municipality, and I hereby invite you to comment on the draft Integrated Development Plan and Budget for 2024-2025. The draft IDP and budget are available at municipal offices in the 7 local municipalities of the district and on the municipality's website, sarahbartman.co.za. Comments should be sent via email to idp@sbdm.co.za. Comments close on 22nd April 2024.
Hi guys, your favorite mom vlogger here, talking all things family entertainment with Deal or No Deal now on SABC2 weekdays at 6:30 p.m. Umalume is trying to make it onto the show and have his life changed quick. Amanda Malume. Mama and I are the #1 Mubango fans at 9 p.m. all week because the storylines stay hot. And my 2 little people can't wait for May when Raid the Cage kicks off with SABC2. See La Familia, keeping those family bonds strong. Until next time.
Top Sport with Michael Abramson.
Golfing coach Song Sonamzi. Obviously a great achievement for Scotty Scheffler. Some are saying he's the best golfer in the world at the moment. Would you concur with that, or do you think there are others who could maybe challenge that title?
No. There's no question about that. Numbers tell the truth, What he has done is quite amazing. But he doesn't have the best swing in the world right now. I think he has the worst golf swing, but he's the best golfer right now.
Yeah, absolutely. He's not the most elegant, but he's certainly very, very effective.
Looks doesn't mean much at all now. Look what he's doing. I was playing golf today at Kalam Golf Club.
Yeah.
I started seeing some members swing like that. I was like, oh my God.
Maybe he's starting a trend in the golfing world.
Top Sport on SAFM. The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga. Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
I love it when we can wrap up the show on a feel-good note. And today we are catching up with Sandile Mkhize. He is a Wings for Life ambassador. And Sandile's story reads like really just a tale of horror. He was involved in a horrific motorbike accident back in 2013, and it saw him break his back in 3 places. And for 2 years, he went in and out of hospital, ultimately falling into a dark depression, and was just about ready to give up until things changed. And he's going to tell us about it. How are you, Sandile? Are you good?
Bridget, thank you so much for having me. And yes, I'm well. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you. I mean, you know, it sounds like just the worst possible thing that could happen to somebody. You get into a motorbike accident, and I'm presuming that perhaps bikes were a passion and a love for leisure and sports. You break your back in 3 different places. You in and out of hospitals for 2 years. You fall into a dark depression, and ultimately, you know, it just seems like there's no way out. But you find the light somewhere, somehow.
Well, obviously, you know, nobody ever plans to have an accident. And I think a lot of people forget that, you know, having the accident is actually the easy part, right? Because, you know, after having a spinal cord injury, you basically have to learn everything again, how to dress yourself, how to sort of navigate the world, which is not designed for you, right? Because there's steps everywhere. But you know, even with all of that being said, I have to be honest and also admit that I am not a product of my own work. Like, I've been very fortunate to have amazing friends, amazing family, amazing colleagues as well that have, you know, at some point, no, not at some point, they've held my hand throughout the process, but at some points they've also, you know, had to bath me when I couldn't bath myself. And yeah, I'm just trying to live well and to contribute into the world as I can.
Yeah. For you, what was the sort of point along the journey when you started seeing the light again, when you started seeing sort of, I guess, hope, for lack of another expression, the hope that there could be some kind of new normal there, you know, on the other side of all of the pain and the rehab and the relearning and everything else?
I wouldn't say there was a particular point, so to speak, but I'd say there were significant moments, which was sort of a series of events, right? Just a trigger warning here to your listeners is, I won't lie, at some point I did want to give up. I did not, you know, want to reinvent myself. I just thought, you know, this is it. There's no point in carrying on trying on at life.
Yeah.
But then obviously, you know, having wonderful parents and wonderful siblings as well, I made the decision one day, you know, I asked myself a question: do I want my parents to bury me? And the answer to that was no. And once I made that decision, I then decided to live, you know, with intention and to try to find ways to live better. And then that's when the first time in, you know, 2016, I heard about the Wings for Life World Run. And what kind of sparked my interest in it is that, you know, my air therapist at the time realized that I'm very isolated. I used to be quite a bit, not really a social butterfly, but I worked in the entertainment space. So always up and about, meeting people. And that was just stripped away from me. And hearing about this race, and, you know, you hear to yourself, like, okay, gosh, there's going to be, you know, lots of people that sort of look like me and have gone through similar experiences. And there's a community of people, you know, that I never knew about that also support people with disabilities and spinal cord injuries. You know, I had to get involved. And yeah, after I did my first run, the very next year, I don't know what possessed me, but we cycled from Cape Town to Joburg and finished the race at the Wings for Life World Run. And I've been doing it every year ever since and trying to contribute where I can.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, listen, we never know what gets into anybody who wants to cycle from Joburg to Cape Town. I wouldn't even do it on my best day. Tell us a little bit about the Wings for Life World Run experience. As you've just said, that it helped you feel that you could be part of society again, and then it gave you a space where people with shared experience could come together and give you, you know, encouragement and share stories and experiences. What makes this particular experience sort of stand out in a cream above the rest?
Well, I'll be very honest and selfish to say it has to do with spinal cord injuries and spinal cord research. As somebody who, you know, has suffered a spinal cord injury, I obviously at first wanted to be within a community of people that sort of understand me, and also families as well that have individuals who have had accidents. And that was my first reason for joining the race. But then once I realized what they actually do, which is the Wings for Life World Run Foundation funds cutting edge research for trying to find a cure for spinal cord injury. And it just kind of clicked to me to say, you know what, I'm looking for a reason to contribute and a reason to live a more meaningful life. Number two, this is an actual practical way of contributing. You know, sometimes we want to contribute and we want to help where we can help, but this kind of just made it easy. I sign up to run, I pay my fee, and 100% of my fee goes towards spinal cord research. You know, this is not wishful thinking. This is a direct way to contribute. And I know this may sound weird. Of course, I'm hopeful that a cure is found soon, but I'm also not doing it for my own benefit. You know, if I had to choose between my growth and being able to walk again, walking feels overrated sometimes. I'm doing this for, you know, kids and people in the future that are going to go through a spinal cord injury, and, you know, they don't have to suffer and go through the pain that I did. And that's why I do all of this. And this is why I love this organization. And this is why they'll always have my time as an ambassador.
Yeah, I mean, definitely impactful work there. We can't take that away from you. Talk to us about this year's run. I'm presuming you are participating again. And what can be expected and when is it happening?
Yeah, so the Wings for Life World Run, as everybody knows, happens every single year. And this year it's going to be, in South Africa, it's going to be there's going to be a Joburg event, and there's also going to be, or not Joburg, let me say, there's going to be a Gauteng event, and there's going to be a Western Cape event. Now, for those that don't know about the race, the Wings for Life World Run happens all around the world at the exact same time. And I mean 2 o'clock in Johannesburg, 8 o'clock in Japan, if I get my time zones right. You know, it's literally tens of thousands of people running all around the world at the exact same time. And the concept of this particular race is there is no finish line. Now, what I mean by that is there's some... Yep, there is no finish line. There's something called a catcher car, right? So everybody starts running around the world at the exact same time, and then at a particular point, a physical catcher car or a virtual catcher car, which happens if you sign up and run through the app, where it starts moving faster and faster as time progresses. So at some point, the car will catch you. So this race is made for everybody, whether you want to walk or run 5 kilometers, or, you know, some of the elites that run for 60 kilometers, if not 70. It's a wonderful way to spend the day with the family. It will be happening on the 5th of May. And it's going to be... like I said, one in Joburg, one in Gauteng, one in the Western Cape. So please, everybody just go to the wingsforlifeworldrun.com. Or rather wingsforlifeworldrun.com. You'll see all of the details there. And if you're going to be in Gauteng, please, I'd love to see you there. And please, I'd love to reach out to people. And I hope we'll be seeing you and your whole team there as well on the day.
I mean, listen, Sandile, you caught me, you hooked me when you said that I got to catch a car or ultimately the car catches me. So in my mind, I thought if I sign up for the 5Ks and I just casually walk 1-2 kilometers, ultimately, a car is going to catch me.
100%. Like I said, whether it's 1K, 5Ks, 10Ks, this race really is for everyone. And the wonderful thing as well, that after the race, there is a bus or transport that sort of collects everybody and brings them back to the home station. And the wonderful thing about the home station and this race happening all around the world at the same time, they live stream races from all around the other countries and who the leader in each country is, who's the leader in the world. So, you know, you can sit down, have a water, have a beer, have some food, watch people run. And yeah, it's a wonderful way to spend the day with the family.
I mean, it definitely sounds like a cool race. And just for clarification, we get the 2 o'clock in the afternoon time slot, right? Not the 2 a.m. in the mornings.
Yes, for South Africa, it's what do you call this? 1 p.m. GMT +2.
Okay.
So yeah, once you translate that, it comes out to that time. But yes, it will be in the afternoon, not wild hours. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, too many things for us to contend with in South Africa at 2 a.m. But 2 p.m. we definitely can do. Sandile, thank you so much for sharing the time with you. It sounds like a phenomenal day out. That was Sandile Mkhize. He's the Wings for Life ambassador. And as you heard, you can log on to wingsforlife.com, and that's where you can go and register if you want to participate in the race. It's happening on the 5th of May, and it's going to be taking place in Gauteng as well as the Western Cape, and all around the world. All kinds of fascinating nations are going to be taking part in this. One race, one world. There's no finish line. I just made that tagline up, by the way. There's no finish line for this one. It sounds like a good day. It sounds like you can take the kids, and everybody sign up if you want to run, walk, do your thing, and then just wait for the car to conveniently scoop you at some point and take you back to base camp. From myself and my team, we appreciate you being in conversation with us. It's always such a blast, especially when we get to hear what's on your mind on any given conversation or topic. I hope you get your vaccines sorted. Number one, let's try and do that. I've never done it. I think this is the year I'm going to get a flu vac as well. Hope we all get our influenza vaccines. And then, of course, we're going to throw it to WhatsApp so we can hear some of your thoughts on President Ramaphosa's exchange with that young lady from Butterworth. From us, inshallah, God willing, we get to do it again tomorrow.
If I may respond to Brian's comment, it's not always as clear-cut the way Brian is making it out to be. It's definitely not that simple. There's a lot of people in society, and I can speak for myself as one. It's not that I would like to have handouts.